Greetings, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the TED in Your Head podcast. I'm your host, Ted Moreno, certified hypnotherapist and high performance coach. And what I do, and I've been doing it for over 20 years now, is I help people think better, feel better, and do better by changing their minds using the powerful tool of hypnosis. Now, if you don't know anything about hypnosis, look at some of my other podcasts where I explain that. Not going to go into it today, but you are awake, aware, fully in control, and very, very relaxed. Most people will tell you hypnosis in a hypnotherapy situation is very, very relaxing. But here's the important thing. When you're in hypnosis, your mind is open to suggestion, so we can use the power of suggestion to help you change your mind. And if that sounds interesting to you and you want to have a conversation with me, I'll tell you how you can get in touch with me at the end of today's podcast. But for now, let's get into today's topic, which is a very important topic. So I want you to pay attention and listen very closely. The topic of today's podcast is how to keep from becoming a zombie. I am not kidding around. Pay close attention. It's close to Halloween. People are already talking about what kind of costume they're going to wear. And for a couple of days, there's going to be lots of ghosts and skeletons, goblins, witches, vampires walking around. But regardless of what time of year it is, you can always count on there being zombies. You've seen them out there in line at the supermarket, in the car beside you on the freeway, behind the counter at the store, looking back at you from the mirror. Zombies are everywhere. The Walking Dead. Or at least they act like they're dead. They're probably not really dead, but we call them the Walking Dead. For example, one day last year, I left my house running late for an appointment. I had several things on my mind. I was driving along, and the next thing I knew, I had rear-ended a very nice Lexus. I had slipped into a zombie state. It took the appearance of a police officer to snap me back from a downward zombie spiral and bring me back from the brink of disaster. It doesn't take much these days to become zombified. Not enough sleep, skipping meals, traffic, noise, too much to do, and long days on the job can mush your mind until you find yourself aimlessly wandering around chanting, "Brains, brains, I need brains." What is a zombie? One definition is an automaton, someone who acts or responds in a mechanical or apathetic way. It can be easy to respond to life these days like an automaton. An automaton. Ever heard that word? Automaton, right? An automaton, mindlessly going from activity to activity, lost somewhere in the maze of your own thoughts, not present to any wonder or miracles that might be happening right in front of you, and not present to all the other stuff you need to pay attention to, right? When you're a zombie, you're walking around, but you're essentially walking in your sleep. You're dead to anything other than your incessant mind chatter, right? Life becomes boring and routine. And at the end of the day, you can't remember anything you actually did. So you zombie out in front of the tube to watch, I don't know, zombie housewives or whatever it is that we zombie out to. Another definition of zombie is a human being who is being controlled by someone else by the use of black magic. Now, I don't know about you, but I can think of a long list of things that might fall under that category of black magic. How about the news media, social media, politicians, advertising, consumerism, the hypnosis of the culture? But that kind of black magic can come from inside us as well. Guilt, obligation, obsession, compulsion, resentment, anger, depression. We fall prey to this kind of control when we are overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means that there's too much stuff going on in your head, too many conversations at the same time, too much to think about. Your brain, that God-given instrument of creation, instead becomes focused on obsessing and worrying about bad things that happened in the past or bad things you think might happen in the future. When we become overwhelmed, we actually go into a trance state. We become suggestible to any and all negativity going on around us or inside of us. So we end up going around in circles, not creating our own life, but letting it be controlled by the environment. And we can become dulled to life and its magnificence. And we might wake up one day and say, where did it all go? Where have I been? Have you ever asked yourself, well, how did I get here? One of his students asked the Buddha, are you the Messiah? No, answered the Buddha. Then are you a healer? No, the Buddha replied. Then are you a teacher? The student persisted. No, I am not a teacher, said the Buddha. The student said, then what are you? Exasperated, the student asked, then what are you? I am awake, the Buddha replied. So there is only one thing to do when you find yourself walking around in the zombie zone. Wake up. Reclaim your brain. Get present to your life. So here are some guidelines to finding your way out of zombie land. First of all, mornings are really important as they set the tone for the rest of the day. For some folks, every morning is Dawn of the Dead. But here are two things you can do to change that up. First of all, throw away that alarm clock with the same old buzzer or beeper or alarm. Why do you want to alarm yourself first thing in the morning? And for God's sakes, don't start the day with ZNN. You know what ZNN, Zombie News Network? Wake yourself up gently with some music or at least something inspirational. Second, give yourself some time in the morning to just be. If you're prone to zombification, you need to wake up not just physically, but mentally and spiritually as well. Spend a few moments just sitting, drinking your whatever, feeling your life, and creating your day before you move on to the next thing, which might be some stretching, walking, or reading something inspiring. Practice extreme self-care. I know, I'm like a broken record. I always say this, but it is so important. And you have to be reminded, and so do I. So do my kids and everybody. Eat right, sleep well, get some exercise. You got to be strong. You got to have the endurance. You got to be mentally clear. Now, here's something that can be really helpful. Count yourself out. So when I put a person into hypnosis in my hypnotherapy room, in my office, I'll put them into hypnosis, 15, 20 minutes. I'll give them suggestions that they think they need to hear. Then I need to count them out of hypnosis. And the way I do that is I tell them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake. And that's the signal to my clients that it's time to come out of the hypnotic state and become awake, aware, and fully in control. So if you find yourself spacing out, you can break that spell by saying to yourself, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open, wide awake. You can say that out loud, or you can say it in your mind. If you practice this and do it often, you'll find that this will pull you out of the zombie trance. And again, this is something I teach my clients when they come in feeling like they are wandering around, kind of doing the zombie walk, right? You know, the zombie walk. What's that? What's this? Oh, what's that over there? Right? Okay. Next, change your physical position. If you're sitting and you find yourself going into the zen of zombie, stand up and walk around. If you're standing, sit down and take a load off. If you're not moving, walk. Changing your physical position allows you to get reconnected with your body. And when you're reconnected with your body, you're present to what's going on here now instead of up in your zombie head. So, what else can you do? Well, you can protect yourself with mindfulness moments. Very, very important and very, very effective. So have your cell phone or your computer give you a reminder every hour to get up, take a short break, a deep breath, or just a few moments to focus on something other than what you're doing, right? So the best way to hypnotize yourself or go into that zombie state is to stare at a computer screen or a book or the television. These are all ways of inducing different types of trance states, right? And we want to keep out of trance unless we're using trance in a hypnotherapy situation to create new associations in our minds. So moving your body, getting into your body, walking around, taking breaks, all of these things can be very helpful. And of course, your phone is a useful tool, but your phone can become the zombie disease itself. You know what I'm talking about. Why do you think they call it death scrolling? So ask yourself, what's happening here? Think, but think about what's right in front of you. Oh, what's right in front of me? I'm doing a podcast. Cool. Hi. Right? So it can be helpful when you count yourself out, when you say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, eyes open wide awake, and you pull yourself out of that trance zombie state. Then the next step is okay, what's happening now? What's the next thing I need to do? One thing at a time instead of what are the 100 things I need to do, right? That's how you slip into that zombie state, thinking about all the things you need to do. That's not helpful because you can only do one thing at a time. And when you're present to what you're doing now, you're present to your wonderful, precious life. Now, with the coming of the holidays, especially Halloween, you can be sure there will be plenty of opportunities for the zombie zoo. So you want to protect yourself and your brain. Be awake, be aware, and pay attention and take good care of yourself. So here's the quote for today by Max Brooks, who writes a lot about zombies, including the Zombie Survival Guide. And of course, if you go to tedmoreno.com/blog, you can read a blog of this podcast. And of course, there's links that you can check out cool stuff and videos, and you can click on the link to go to Amazon to buy the Zombie Survival Guide if you really feel you need it. Anyway, here's the quote by Max Brooks. And he said, that's the thing about zombies. They don't adapt and they don't think. Literally, you could have a zombie on one side of a chain link fence and you could be on the other side and they could be trying to get to you, and 6 feet down could be an open door and they will not go through that door in the fence. That's why they're so scary. Think about that quote. I mean, take some time to think about that quote, okay? And you can read it at tedmoreno.com/blog. So, the best cure for zombieism is a deep hypnotic trance in a controlled environment called hypnotherapy. As a CZB, that's Certified Zombie Buster, I can help. To request a complimentary half-hour consultation, go to tedmoreno.com/contact. Thank you so much for listening. Take care and watch out for all of those zombies out there. Bye now.